everyone. Welcome to Midweek with Mechelle. And my name is Mechelle Wingle, and my soul's purpose is to move the planet forward, healing myself and others emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And today we're going to get into a little more about the four bodies. But when I was sitting down getting ready to push the button, I just realized, I just kind of gave into the fact that, I'm just not feeling it today. So I wanted to share with you kind of what I do when I'm not feeling it. I very first kind of just listen to what I need. So today I have this onyx necklace that is very grounding. So I wear it and I put it underneath right next to my skin as soon as possible. I also knew I was going to be speaking, so I grabbed this rock that's supportive of your voice, and then it was serving me today to grab an essential oil. So I do this all the time. I move, I have my oils together, and I kind of listen to where I'm being sent to. So I have boxes, and I open it up, and I just kind of sit for a minute and think about where I need to close my eyes, and I kind of just get a sense of one of the oils or where it's at in the box, and I pick that up. And then as soon as I pick it up, I grab a book that tells me what that oil means. Today it was Siberian Fir, which is support during grief or regret or longing. It encourages an honest and gentle approach to any influence or legacy you might leave. So anyway, I won't read it all, but those are the kind of things that I said, okay, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Kind of what I do when I have those moments, because we all do. We have those times when we can just feel it in the air, and I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in the air. So today I want to start the discussion on the four bodies. I've talked about them so much that we're going to go into what they are and how to experience them or use them for your benefit. And I'm going to talk about their qualities and the roles they play in our lives. And I hope this will give you insight into yourself and into others so that you can see how they are showing up. We each kind of lead with a body. The mental body, emotional body, spiritual body, or physical body. And a great way to kind of know that is to do the Enneagram. I did a video on the Enneagram, and you can go on my website, mechellewingle.com, and there's a tab for Enneagram, and take the test that's there. And then if you come back to my page, then I will send you kind of some information all about that. And it tells you kind of which body you lead with, and that's helpful. The four bodies came to me one day as I was thinking about my weight loss clients that I was kind of coaching. And I was thinking about why some work and some doesn't. Some things work for some people and some things don't work for some people. And I was thinking about emotional eating at the time. And I thought, what if emotional eating added weight to an emotional body? And I thought that was interesting because what I was teaching was all physical body things. I was teaching how many calories made a pound of weight, or how many calories were burned in this and those kind of things, or what I did back and forth to help that physical body. But I just, in that moment, I thought, what if the weight, if I was emotionally eating, what if that weight was being added to an emotional body? And I know it sounds strange, but at that moment, these four bodies kind of just separated within myself, and they begin to become clear in my experience. And I immediately began putting together my curriculum and putting to paper the understandings that were coming to me in my mind, and as I listened quietly. Kind of like when I do that morning thing this morning, I just sit for a minute and let the information come. And the information came is in a tidal wave, and I'm learning new things all the time. In fact, what I'm going to share with you today has some new insights that are just in the last month that I've added to my understanding of the four bodies. And I'm amazed at how over the last few years, I think it's been 4+ years since I had that experience with the four bodies, at least. And I am surprised at how much I'm hearing it come up. A lot of people are working on developing their mental body or their emotional body or spiritual body. It's showing up a lot. I'm hearing it a lot. So I'm grateful for that, because it means different people are tuning into this information, and it's been really good feedback, and I'm learning from them. Sometimes, as I have, so Einstein, thank you, Einstein, would do these things called thought experiments, where he didn't ever go into the lab. I don't know if you know that. We have a great video I made about thinking like Einstein, and he didn't go into the lab and do experiments with little test tubes and stuff. He had what he called thought experiments. And so I do those thought experiments all the time, and I kind of take things apart and put them back together in my head. And as I was doing that and coming and learning about the four bodies, I had to decide what words to use to describe the concepts that I was understanding. And I just want to say, sometimes don't get too hung up on the words or the vocabulary, but instead see the deeper meaning behind the word. Because sometimes we get so stuck on the what's and how's, and actually what that is that's the mental body. The mental body needs to know exactly what's going on. And we've all overused and overemphasized our mental body. The mental body wants an exact word. But if we could kind of push that off aside for a little bit and get the essence of what I'm talking about, then use your own word. I don't want to ever make anyone feel like the things that I say are 100%, because every word I use is always symbolic of something else. It's just the way it all comes in context with my experience and yours too. So I call the four bodies the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. And they work together, and they each bring a huge part to the whole of our experience. They are like systems of the body. So we have a circulatory system, we have a respiratory system. It's like that, where it's in its own function, but if our respiratory system is not working well, then it affects our circulatory system. So they kind of interact. They're independent, but they interact with each other. Today, I want to focus on the physical body and its counterpart, the spiritual body. So each of these bodies are connected in different ways. The physical body makes up our physical world and being, and our cells, anything tangible, our systems and the functions. And I like to use the first word that really made sense to me was form. Things that are physical have form. And we can even think through the idea of form. When we connect with our spirit, our mental body, our physical body will see the form of it. The sensations that the physical body sends to us is invaluable for experiencing life. And that's something that we haven't been familiar with, is the sensations. Imagine if you were watching like a movie, like an intense movie, but all the tension inside you was not there. Or if you were on an amusement ride and that stomach dropping sensation just didn't exist. Or when you're looking at a loved one and that feeling, that swelling of warmth inside of you just didn't happen. That experience changes everything. So the sensations are vital to experiencing something. And I actually, once I had the opportunity a while ago to work on a beautiful quadriplegic woman, and her injury was so new, and I could sense her deep sorrow in an emptiness. There was just this hollowness about her. And I knew that faith was important to her, and I felt inspired to talk to her about it. And it was both a relief and a tragedy at that moment to understand that without those sensations alive within our body, like they were before, emotions and thoughts felt numb too. And we had to kind of work with that. And her spiritual experiences that she was used to could no longer be felt. And it had left her with this emptiness and this hollowness. And so we had to work to find a new way to make the connections for her emotions and thoughts to rise and fall within her. and she needed to actually learn to feel in a whole new way. And thanks to her vulnerability and willingness to let me learn from her, my understanding of the physical body has greatly enhanced, and it is the communicator for the other bodies. The sensations of the physical body are the key to our reality, hands down. So much of the time, though, we disconnect from our physical body and or the sensations that it sends. And we can do this by overeating. When we overeat, we train ourselves to ignore those messages, because that feeling of overly full, nothing's getting past that. By using alcohol and other substances that numb or overexcite our body, we lose the ability to communicate or trust the messages that come in, because we are busy, because we've numbed those sensations, or we're in hyper mode, and so too much is going on. Someday I would love to create a class where we just sit with these different experiences and notice where they show up in our body and kind of create a sensational map, because I really think we've got disconnected. We've become disconnected to that, and that's so key. But aside from the inner guidance that we can, the sensations that we numb or that we overexcite, if the physical body takes a hit or develops something that compromises the health and safety of the body, we spend time, energy, money to get the physical body back into shape. And we groom the physical body, and we pay attention to the physical body. And I believe the same should happen for all 4 of the bodies. They all need their own kind of attention and care. The sensations telling us who, what, when, where, and how can help us do that. So the physical heart, the organ, is the center of this body. And one might think that the brain is where it's all at. But the body can remain alive in a state of brain death. But when the heart goes, the body dies. So the heart is the center. There is actually more and more research that the heart is actually sending messages to the brain and speaks to the brain and the other organs of the body. And we do know that the beat of the heart sets the rhythm and systems within the body. I think that's just so beautiful. The physical body is also temporary, and all experiences associated with the physical body are never permanent. They say, even, I think, that the body renews every 7 years. All the cells are renew completely over, because it's temporary, and hunger leaves and tiredness changes. It's always moving and changing. The spiritual body is the physical body's counterpart. It's like the yin to the yang. And the spiritual is all about eternal, never-ending, the bigger picture, the intangible. So they are both together and different. They're like, it's kind of like we're going to bookend these two. We've got a physical experience over here. We've got a non-physical, intangible experience over here. And then we experience between the two. And it's important one's not more important than the other. It just creates this experience to expand from. And just like the physical body has blood running through the veins, and it is the life giver, the emotional body has emotions, the mental body has thoughts running through it, and the spiritual body has love. The center of the spiritual body is the heart, and it's not the anatomical heart like the physical body, but it is the part of us that experiences wonder, embodied in quotes like, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart." That's what Helen Keller says. Carl Jung says, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." Both of these experiencing from Helen Keller and Carl Jung using the heart, I would call a spiritual experience. It's both an enlightening and a calming experience at the same time. That's the spiritual body. The spiritual body's goal is connection. It is all about connection. And love is the means by which that connection could be made. It's the ingredients. And friends of mine who have separated from their bodies, from their physical body, existing only in their spiritual, tell me that instantly they were filled with love. Remember, that's the lifeblood of the spiritual body. And their connection to others was automatic. They knew everything about the people they came in contact with. And they loved them as if they understood where they had come from, why they had done things. And there was immediate connection there. And they just loved all who came in contact with them. This is the full manifestation of the physical body. The physical body is to be one with all, or at one, or connected. When you connect with someone physically or mentally or emotionally, isn't it completely indescribable? Isn't it spiritual or even sacred when we connect this way? That's because the spiritual body is getting the food. Many spiritual ceremonies and rituals are meant to be symbolic of our being connected to the earth to others and the divine. That's the point. And our mental body will start to put thoughts on those about what they are and what they do. But the spiritual body is all just about experiencing in the connection. So we got to keep that in mind as we look at right, wrong, and these things. So when I'm asked, how did they separate? I'm guessing my friends separated when they were, some people were in a horrific car accident. Some were on an operating table. Some experienced separating from their bodies just in a moment of spiritual experience. So that's how they separated. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Once connection is fully understood, I really believe this, and becomes part of who we really are, then our thoughts shift and in positive ways, and our emotions soar to the highest frequencies, and our physical bodies actually begin to heal. So if you are looking for the real fountain of youth, it is in connection. It is in spiritual. And don't think of spiritual like you've normally thought about it. Think of it as this connection. If there is a wound to the spiritual body, sometimes we get wounded in our spiritual body, or the body becomes in dis-ease, meaning it's not flowing easily, right? It will manifest in two ways, the wounds, and we'll talk about the wounds to each of these physical wounds. We've talked about we can do it ourselves by numbing or overexciting, or our physical body can get a wound by a cut or those kind of things. But the other bodies have wounds too, and we'll get into each of those wounds as we learn more. But when the spiritual body gets a wound, it will show up as I am not enough, which immediately creates separation. If I'm not equal with someone, I'm not at one with them, then there's that separation there. They are better than me. Or I am more than, which also creates the same separation. Like when I look down on somebody, I'm no longer connected to them on equal ground, and we become the connection is lost. So the food or the healing balm for the spiritual body is ceremony and ritual. It speaks in symbolism. The spiritual body speaks in symbolism. It's so vast. It's unforming that the words just are beyond it. It's an experience. So when a symbol can represent 1,000 words, and we can kind of begin to touch on how that spiritual body works. That's why symbolism and rituals work so well, because by a gesture or an object that we use as a symbol, when somebody sees a cross, they don't think of the CROSS. They don't think of the word cross. It's all about what that represents. And so
And so it becomes a thousand things, something we can never really describe. And that's the spiritual body. So when we use symbol and ritual, we get as close as we can get here in the spiritual world. Like I say, those that have left their body, it was automatic. They were connected automatically and loved automatically. But we get close in spirit, in ritual and ceremony. And I really believe that the underuse of ceremonies that is really impacting our society. If you think about why we wear specific clothing at a graduation, that's a ceremony. A graduation is a ceremony. There's certain clothing you use, there's certain music that's played, but we never once think about what that means and what the symbolism of that is. Or when someone's taking an oath and they raise their hand, why do we do that? What is the symbolism behind it? There's 1,000 words that represent that one gesture. And many of us, a lot of religious meetings hold symbolism. And do we really stop and reflect on what that symbol is trying to teach us? Or do we just call it by name, CROSS? It's the words behind it that's there to teach us the meaning. And the ancients were great at this kind of thing. If you study any kind of ancient group of people, they will always have many ceremonies and rituals, many symbolisms, and they really fed that spiritual part of them. And like I said before, I think when you feed the spiritual part of you, then your thoughts come into alignment with positive, your emotions come into alignment with the positive, your physical body actually starts to regenerate. So I think it's really something, a disservice that we've done in our society to let go of some of these spiritual important rituals. And another time, I'm going to teach a little bit about the yin and yang of the emotional and mental body. They work together and they work as a team as well. And at thewholenessnetwork.com, under the classroom, there's a tab that's classroom. There's a fantastic online class that, first of all, there's introduction to the four bodies. But Robin and I, my business partner, have put together this online class that is all about creating with the four bodies and gives so much information, talks about the Enneagram, talks about creating what you're moving into in your life. However you want to create a better marriage, you want to create a business, you want to create more love in your life, that's creative. And so we've created this online class that teaches you all about how to work with the four bodies. So check that out if that's interesting to you. In ending, I want to just share with you my music. So this week's music is Higher Love it's a remake after Whitney Houston passed away. It's her voice, but it's one that I have listened to over the last 7 or 8 months. I've shared it, I think, to Facebook more than once because it's called Higher Love. We need a higher love, but it's upbeat. So my goal, I hope, if you watch that video, that you dance physically, let your physical body release and let go as you listen to this music. And as you do so, I know that you will have spiritual experiences. You hear the words and really allow a higher love to come into your life. So I will see you next week. And it was great talking to you. Hopefully you spend some time supporting your spiritual and physical body. We'll see you next time.